top one, please. I have a question. I'm really mad. I'm actually really upset. What do you guys do with all the spare time you guys save? Texting me the letters RN instead of the words right now. I don't know. I don't see that time. I'm actually really pissed off. I am mad. I am the mad right now. Okay. So I don't know how many of you guys know me, but I did comedy sets last semester. You know me, good. So I did comedy sets last semester, and there was a joke I had about a neo-Nazi from my town. And then I know that's like horrible, but a lot of people are interested in this neo-Nazi, so I'm going to tell you about how I met my neo-Nazi friend. So we were in middle school, and this is before I knew he was a neo-Nazi. It was his birthday. He invited me over for a sleepover, and we were just doing like normal sleepover things, you know, just having fun. And then one kid in the back just kind of pipes up and says, "Hey, who's heard of the hilarious racist?" And I'm like, "Not me, I'm not racist. Are you guys?" And they were all like, "Yes, we are. We have heard about this guy. We fucking love the hilarious racist." And I'm like, "Shit, where am I right now?" So then like that was like the first big red flag for me. So then like a couple hours into the hilarious racist, when we're done watching the hilarious races, you only got a couple of videos, not a lot of material. My friend, my neo-Nazi friend, he pulls up a shirt, he's like, "Hey guys, check this out." And on his fucking chest, he's got a swastika tattooed on his chest. We're in middle school, we're 12 years old, and he's got a tattoo of a swastika on his chest. That's so fucking hardcore. And then, to my horror, 3 other people in the party lift up their shirts and like, "Yeah, check out my tattoo, man." And I'm in this party full of like hardcore racists, man. These are like actual Nazis. And no, that was the second big red flag for me. And I'm like, is there anybody supervising this goddamn party? No, the parents aren't there. The only person supervising is his older sister, who's only like 17. And she's not really contributing very much to the situation either. She's actually flirting with a couple of the people. She's like sitting on one of this kid's lap and like kissing his neck. It was really fucked up. So then when I tell people about this story, they're like, "Max, why didn't you fucking leave?" Well, it's a sleepover. You don't just leave sleepovers. They're awesome. I was in middle school. You guys gotta understand that. And then the second question they asked me is, what is the second question they asked me? They asked me, "Oh, like, where are you from? Where could you possibly be from where this happens? Are you from like backwater Louisiana?" And I'm like, "No, I'm from California, like the liberal mecca of the Western world." But what people don't know about California is like outside the major cities, it's all pretty like staunchly conservative. And like just to give you a pretty good indication, like every 30 miles you go away from San Francisco, it's like 100 years back in American history. So that's the situation I'm dealing with there now. And so back at the sleepover, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, which is like outrageously late for middle schoolers, so we're all asleep. And I get up in the middle of the night thinking I have to take a shit, and I'm like, "Oh my god, my stomach hurts." But then I realized, like, no, this isn't shit, this is like justice and anger. So I get up and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is a hate shit. My stomach is full of social justice right now." So I take it upon myself to get up, go past the bathroom, go into the parents' bedroom. Yeah. I go to the bedside and I take the pillow, I bend over and I shit all into the pillow, man. I just empty myself completely out, right into the fucking pillow. And it was disgusting. It was the most pure relief I think I've ever felt in my life. But the fucked up thing about that is I don't actually know whatever happened with the dookie pillow. I just went back to bed and then I got up the next morning and I just left. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that he kept being a neo-Nazi, since I told a joke about him being a neo-Nazi. But I can pretty much assume that his parents probably came home and were like, "Oh man, the minority neighbors" or something like that, or affirmative action. That's pretty fucked up. But I met up with him later this summer, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing with your life now?" He's actually like a pretty reputable journalist. He works for a news website. His latest article was 29 gifts that will make you absolutely fall in love with the Third Reich. I'm saying he works for BuzzFeed. I hate BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed hires Nazis. So something else that happened this summer, one of my friends got married, and it wasn't like one of those marriages where they're both financially stable and they've cultivated a long, deep love for one another. No, it was the kind of marriage where the girl got pregnant right after high school, and then she had like a religious grandmother that's kind of making them get married. You know, the people you've been filtering out of your Facebook for the past 3 years. Orville's chock full of them, so there's a lot to go around. So they posted the wedding reception video on my Facebook, and I was watching it, and there was a particularly stirring moment when the father-in-law asked the groom, like, "Hey, what was it about my daughter that made you finally decide to marry her?" And me, knowing the group, thought he was going to say, like, yeah, those tits! But no, what he said was infinitely more profound and yet so much worse. He said, you know, it's because she's just so damn loyal. And that's such a fucked up answer, but the crowd was just like, aww. And the father-in-law was like, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. First of all, no, I know that's not why you didn't get married. Her Latvian Orthodox grandmother forced you guys to get married, otherwise she wasn't going to give you any inheritance money. Second of all, is that really the best quality about your new wife that you thought of when you were asked about why you married her? Like, you couldn't lie and say, like, her breasts? I don't know, but that was the first thing. Like, honestly, he could have just stood up and said, she stuck around after we had sex. I said, why not? That's a really fucked up answer. Like, you call dogs or pets loyal, you don't call human beings loyal. That's really fucked up. So, spoiler alert, they got divorced. And I know this because I worked with the bride over the summer. And it took me a while to recognize her, but then I did recognize her and I talked to her. And I know she had a tattoo on her chest, not a swastika, but she had a tattoo on her chest. And I said, hey, what does that say? And she says, oh, it says tutor. And I'm like T-U-D-O-R, tutor? And she's like, oh, no, like T-O-O-T-E-R, tutor. And I'm like, no, that's not what it says. Please tell me that's not what it says. And I'm like, is that as in somebody that toots? And she's like, yeah, duh. I'm like, oh, right, yes. Why? Why is that on your fucking chest? And she says, well, you know, it's my husband's nickname. I'm like, oh, right, it's your husband's nickname. Of course, stupid me. So then a couple weeks go by and I don't talk to her. I've grown accustomed to calling her tutor, so I haven't talked to tutor in a while. And then I see that she's kind of sad, so I go up to her and I say, like, hey, what's going on? She's like, oh, I just got divorced from my husband. I'm like, tutor, no, how could you? And so she proceeds to tell me that tutor likes to watch her pee. Not only that, he has made her little daughter watch her pee too. And she's like, I just can't handle the situation anymore. So I divorced him. Which is honestly like a good complaint, but really shouldn't have been like the first red flag on the relationship. So I really wanted to console her. I really wanted to be nice about it. So I was just like, but I'm really poor at consoling people. So I just asked her, like, what are you going to do about the tattoo? And she was like kind of tearing up. She's like, I don't know, I'd have to get rid of them just like the others. And I'm like, oh, like the other tattoos? And she's like, no, like the other ex-wives. And that's when she told me that tutor, prior to getting married to the bride here, had 3 other ex-wives, and every single one of them has had the word tutor tattooed across their fucking chest. And I'm like, I don't want to hate you, I really don't want to hate you, but please, for the love of God, tell me you didn't know this before getting the tattoo. And she's like, of course I knew this. I'm friends with one of his ex-wives, and that's how we met. I'm like, oh my fucking God. How do people like you exist? But then I think back and it's like, she's not really the problem. The problem is there's this guy roaming around Northern California, like spreading his seed everywhere and writing his name on any woman he could find. And that's really the problem there. So I'm gonna stop shitting on Oroville now. There's so much I could say, but I'm gonna stop. Let me shit on my dad for a while. So my dad's getting pretty old, like they do. It sucks. So he's getting pretty old, and over the summer, you know, he does really funny things. Like, he went to the grocery store, but he forgot to wear his pants. And then, you know, like a couple weeks before I left to go to school, I walked down the stairs, and I noticed, like, he was lying face down on the floor. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? He didn't say anything because he had a heart attack. It's okay not to laugh at that. So we took him to the hospital. And then the doctor's like, oh, hey bro, sorry man, your dad can't use his legs anymore, he can't walk anymore. But I really have to give it to those doctors, because after so many months of muscle therapy, so much more medication, still had a correct diagnosis. Those doctors really knew what they were talking about. So another question people usually ask me after my comedy set, pretty simple question, how big's your dick, Max? And so, it's a really simple question. I really do want to answer that question, but there's only one way I know how to answer that question. By telling you a little bit about my mom. So when I did my comedy sets last year, a couple of them got up on YouTube, and my parents, of course, got around to seeing them. And so last year, my mom called me up, and she's like, hey Max, hope you're enjoying Vassar. And I saw your comedy set, you know, and I think you're really funny, Max, but just like one problem. I don't think you have a little penis, like, not at all. And so, when I heard this, I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom, great, great. But now when I think back on it, I really should not have stopped there, because there's so much I need to know about what my mother thinks about my penis. just to be clear, before you get any ideas, the last time my mom saw my penis, I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, you know? And that has a lot of problems because who did she have to compare it to? Like, my dad? I don't know. She thought I had a pretty decently sized penis when I was that age. So I can imagine like my parents getting into fights and being like, hey, Tom, your son's over there swinging a 2x4. He gets all his homework done. What the fuck are you doing around the house? Maybe you should do the goddamn dishes, Tom, little guy. I don't know. Yeah, it's a messy household. So then now, when I look back on it, my parents are actually divorced. And it's actually a huge possibility that my penis is the reason. So when you guys like sit there and ask me like, hey Max, how big's your penis? My only answer is that it's big enough to rip apart a 20-year marriage. What about yours? Yeah, I think that was my big joke. That was my big end joke. Thank you guys. You guys have been great.